Welcome to the 6 Miles to Supper podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Cox, and I've lost over 80 pounds with intermittent fasting 6 days a week, eating whatever I wanted at my meals, taking a cheat day every Sunday, and walking 6 miles a day. And I'm here to help you on your weight loss journey. In today's episode, we're going to talk about cheat day. Someone requested this topic on my website. And if you would like to request a topic, you can also go there, 6milestosupper.com/podcast. There's a submission form. And if it's something that I feel like I can talk about, then I will talk about it. So they wanted to know more about cheat day. And so in this episode, we're going to dive deep into, what my cheat days look like and why I take them. So the first thing I want to make clear is that cheat day was something that I instituted at the beginning of 2016, which is when I started to lose the bulk of my weight. 2015 was a year that I lost like the first, 15 pounds or so, but I wasn't really consistently doing anything during that year. So 2016, that's when I got really clear, intermittent fasting 6 days a week, cheat day on Sunday, walk 6 miles a day. So when I started taking a cheat day, I made a promise to myself. Every Sunday is going to be cheat day. And so I never take that away from myself. It's not like, like on a week where, let's say I had several days off for whatever reason. Maybe we had vacation, or maybe people were in from out of town and there were events and stuff. And so the intermittent fasting just didn't happen, let's say Monday through Friday even. Sunday, I'm still going to take that cheat day, that day off. I do that because I want it to remain a constant in my life, just to show you how consistent I am with this. This is my 5th year of having a cheat day on Sunday, and there's only been one day where I didn't do it to the full capacity like I normally do. And that was because I was wanting to do a 5-day fast, and because of our travel schedule, I just couldn't make it work so that I could really do it any other time. So I started the fasting clock on Sunday after our pancake breakfast. So that's the only exception. So one day out of, what's been, I'm working on my 5th year of this. So before I go into the how of it, I want to talk about the why, because I think that this is a really important part of why I've been able to be successful with weight loss and the way I've been able to keep it off. And it's kind of one of those things I think a lot of people kind of overlook, the importance of my cheat day, because it was a thing that early on helped keep me consistent with intermittent fasting throughout the rest of the week. And being consistent, to me, is the most important thing. The most important part of weight loss is being consistent with your plan. And at first, I was really afraid to take a cheat day. In the past, because I've had a lifetime of dieting, the way my pattern looked before was I would be on, some sort of really strict diet, and I would stick to it. I mean, I would be like basically perfect on it. I'm a perfectionist, or I'm a recovering perfectionist at least. And so what that would look like is, okay, I'm doing this really hard plan and I'm perfect on it. And then one day it happens, something goes wrong, or, some food is just too tempting and you eat it. And then I would be off that plan. I mean, it would just be like off. I'm not doing that anymore. I broke my streak and now I'm done with it, which of course led to a lot of, huge fluctuations in weight. I would have gotten all that weight off, went back to eating, the things I liked. And so then, the weight would come back on plus some, and this constant roller coaster. The idea of actually taking a day off every week was terrifying. But I had heard this idea, that actually people who take a cheat day do better with sticking to the plan. I had heard that in several places. One particular place that I heard it that really made sense to me was in Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Body. And, what it came down to was I thought, I've never really tried it. I've never really tried it that way. Maybe it'll work. Like, it's just so crazy. It might work. And the idea was, if you can have that one day off, it just makes the other 6 days a lot more doable because you know that you're getting a break. And so I decided to try it. And once I started doing it, I found that it had some really big advantages. The first one was again, that it motivated me to stick with intermittent fasting in the early days. So, in the early days, I was still getting used to the idea of intermittent fasting. I mean, it's just kind of a weird way to live your life. And the idea that I could, like, okay, if I can just, stick with my fasting and eating windows through the week, on Sunday, I can just be a regular person. I can just eat whatever I want, whenever I want. And that helped me to get through those early days when it did feel weird, because I was like, I can do this. I can do this. It made it feel really, really easy. And I feel like that's very important. Not only is it important when you're losing weight, but I found it's very important in maintenance mode, because, once you get the weight off, it still needs to feel easy, because maintenance is for the rest of your life. So, if the thing that you're doing feels hard, when you're losing weight, it's going to feel hard. And really, it kind of compounds it even more in maintenance, because it's like, there's no end really, So having that cheat day every week, and I continue to take it, it's just a nice thing to know that I have that day off every week. And in those early days, what I was finding, like in 2015, my husband had gotten into this habit of making us homemade pancakes every Sunday morning. And what I found was, intermittent fasting, I could do it through the week. It was actually pretty easy to do. But Sundays always threw me for a loop, because it was like, well, he's going to make those pancakes Sunday morning. So then trying to get a fasting window going, between like Saturday night to, breakfast time on Sunday morning, it just wasn't quite working. And so that would just kind of throw me off every week. So then I started thinking, well, hey, that would be one thing if I just took the day off on Sunday, then the pancake breakfast isn't a problem anymore. It's just part of my plan. And sure enough, it worked. Another really big advantage I found of having the cheat day is that every week I'm practicing going off plan and then getting back on plan on Monday. And I didn't really appreciate that at first, about how important that was. In the beginning of any weight loss journey, I feel like you're really idealistic, and it's like, hey, I'm gonna do this, and every day is gonna be perfect, and all that, and life won't get in the way. But what I found is life does get in the way, and so learning how to go off plan. So because things do come up, you have birthday parties to attend, or Christmas parties to attend, or business lunches, or people are in from out of town. There are a lot of things that will make it so that you probably won't be able to do intermittent fasting one day. And so when that happens, having practiced it every week, like, okay, I have a complete day off on Sunday, Monday morning I get right back to it. That practice has made it so that any day where I have to go off plan, it's no big deal the next day to get right back on plan. And that was something that, again, I was not good at all previous to this. But once I started taking that cheat day, it just made things like vacations and having people in from out of town, or just having an interruption in my schedule, it made it very easy to get back on plan the next day. And another advantage was that weekly cheat day to me was like real world practice. Like, what am I actually like? What do I actually do when left to my own devices? Like, when there are no rules in place, what does my eating look like? Am I a stress eater still? Will I go back to doing those bad habits that I don't do, Monday through Saturday, but what does Sunday look like? And that's been actually something that gave me a lot of peace, because as I was practicing intermittent fasting, through, say Monday through Saturday, I was getting a handle on my stress eating habits, because I started to see like, oh, well, usually when I'm snacking around, it's because I'm stressed, not because I'm actually hungry. And then because I wasn't stress eating, I was like actually having to take action on the things. Then I started to see like, oh, I can take action on these things, so I don't have that urge to snack around and eat my feelings. So then on Sundays, what I started to notice over time, and this did take time, was that I didn't feel that urge to stress eat like I did in the beginning. And another kind of cool thing is to be able to compare, what does it feel like on those days where I'm intermittent fasting, and what does it feel like on those days where I don't do intermittent fasting? Because if you never do one or the other, so if like you're always intermittent fasting, you kind of start to think, well, what did I feel like when I just ate 3 meals a day and snacks and things like that? And vice versa, if you never do the intermittent fasting thing, you can't really remember what it's like. So for me, it's nice to have that weekly comparison of what it's like when I'm intermittent fasting and what it's like to just, eat the 3 meals a day. So now let's talk about how I actually practice this, what it looks like on a typical cheat day. First, let's talk about the rules I have. Basically, there are none. Well, okay, I do have two rules. One, no emotional eating, and two, no overeating, because I feel like that kind of defeats the purpose. If I'm gonna overeat, that's not good. That's not fun, and this is all about enjoyment and no emotional eating. And that's just kind of a thing that I have for myself. As far as I try to remind myself that I tend to be an emotional eater, so it's not that I have rules about, well, you can't snack. I'm not saying that, because I do snack on Sundays a lot. What I'm saying is I make sure I check in with myself, even on Sundays, like, okay, is there anything wrong right now? Or you really just want a snack? And I'm sure by no stretch of the imagination am I perfect. What I've found a lot of times is that stress eating is something you can kind of figure out that you did in hindsight. When you're actually doing it, it's harder to really know that you are. I eat however many times I want. I eat whatever foods I want. That's always the case. I always eat whatever foods I want. Monday through Sunday, that's the rule. I eat whatever I want. So the actual foods I'm eating on Sunday as compared to the rest of the week are no different. But I don't have any rules about portion sizes or number of times I eat or anything like that. There are no rules. It's just don't emotionally eat and don't overeat. So I've always considered my cheat day to be from midnight Sunday till midnight on Monday. So in other words, a full 24 hours. And now in the early days, there were times where it was like past midnight and I would eat something because it'd be like, this is cheat day. Nowadays, that really, I don't ever do that, because basically I'm asleep before then, probably asleep by 10 or so on a Saturday night. I usually sleep until about 5 or 6 a.m. on Sunday morning. And then I take my coffee. I can eat, first thing, if I want to eat, I'll eat. And in the early days, I did, like, I was like, ooh, okay, now I can just wake up and eat. But nowadays, I'm not hungry or anything until probably about like 8:30 or 9 is when we have our pancake breakfast. Sometimes it's later, sometimes it's earlier. We don't really stick to any kind of schedule on Sundays. That's generally the way the morning looks. And then, I usually go to bed by, say, 8:30 or 9 at night on Sunday. So I'm generally not eating past that time. But my rule, like, as far as just the technical rule, is cheat day goes all the way until Monday at midnight. Now, as far as, what does my eating pattern look like? It varies, and I know that's maybe not very helpful for those of you who really want to know exactly what I do on Sundays, but that's because, that's real life for me. There are times where it's like, we wake up, we have a late breakfast, so it's like maybe I would probably eat more at breakfast, and then maybe I won't eat again until like 2 or 3 o'clock. And then, I'll have supper or something. And then other days, maybe we'll eat earlier in the morning. And so then I am, hungry by, say, lunchtime, and then we have supper again. I, generally speaking, do try to eat something, even if I don't feel real hungry. I do try to eat something around 6 or 6:30, because I want to feel full the next day if I'm doing OMAD on Monday, which generally I am. So that's a general rule I follow for myself, is like, hey, make sure you're full, because I don't like feeling really hungry on Monday. And I really just focus on enjoying the food, whatever it is, just really, if it's snacks, then enjoying the snacks. If it's real food, enjoying the real food. Generally speaking, there's at least breakfast and at least supper. Lunch or snacks is a general feature. But again, it just goes back to like how hungry I am. And that a lot of times is tied to my activity level that day. I don't have a step goal for that day, which is something that is different. I started out in 2016 having like I would do my 6 miles on Sundays too. But what I started to notice was, like, I really wanted to have Sundays be an actual, for real day off, meaning no step goal, day off from fasting, and then no work that day either. And actually, for me, not working is kind of like work, because I really like to work. What I've found is I don't feel great if I just lay around all day on Sunday. Like, I do want some some activity, even if it's just going for a short walk. I like to try to keep my mind active, doing crossword puzzles or just regular puzzles or playing games, hanging out with my family. I do watch TV on that day. I really don't watch much TV through the week. I mean, through the week, I may be watching like 20 or 30 minutes through the weekdays. And then Saturday nights, we have like a family night, which generally does have movies and stuff. So, but on Sundays, it's a bit more freewheeling with the TV. But again, I try to just enjoy the day. Another nice thing that I've noticed about, taking the day off from fasting on Sunday is that I get to eat those things that I would otherwise miss if I'm just doing OMAD. Things like sandwiches, okay? Like for me, sandwiches don't really fit with one meal a day. I mean, I suppose I could make that my one meal, well, it'd probably take a few sandwiches to fill me up, but it's just like, it's not something that I feel like really works well for serving for supper, for my family. So we don't generally have sandwiches through the week at supper. So then on Sunday, though, I can have a sandwich. And so it's just a nice way to just, again, have a sense of like, hey, this is just normal. I don't ever feel deprived. And I do want to mention that I do weigh every day. So that includes Sundays and Mondays. And actually, that's something that I'm really glad. Another great part of having a cheat day is because you are just eating what you want when you want and everything. You have to lean into the discomfort the next day of weighing yourself. In the past, I'd say when I was on a diet, years and years ago, you'd avoid weighing a day after, you kind of went off plan or whatever, or you're on vacation, like it's just this really scary thing, or it was for me. But that was a part of the promise I made to myself when I set up my plan. It was like, okay, you're going to take the cheat day on Sunday, but you are going to continue to weigh every day. But what I found was, a lot of times, there's some water weight that comes on, especially like if on Sunday I'm eating, say, different kinds of foods than I would normally eat, like maybe saltier some things, or things like that. There's maybe a bit more of an upward fluctuation, but it got me in the habit of weighing no matter what my eating was like the day before. And I don't take the day off from that. And so that's something that has been really educational for me. First of all, to see that, when that little bit of water weight comes on, it goes right back away. So it made me really not scared of foods, like just being able to eat all the foods all the time and not worry about it. So in the end, for me, cheat day is all about keeping a promise to myself. I've found that it has been very helpful. When I really look at my weight loss journey and, when I think about what was different this time, what was different, from all the other times in past years where I've tried to get the weight off, or maybe I did get the weight off, but I put it right back on. One of the big things was having this cheat day, this day off that kept me going through the times that, where it was, it's difficult when you're going on the weight loss journey and you're losing weight, but, like if you're never giving yourself the day off, it feels taxing. But to have that one day off a week, it just made it feel so much more doable. And again, in maintenance, it continues to feel, man, this is easy because I got the day off, coming up. I always have that day off coming up, and it just makes it mentally easier. So I hope that covers thoroughly what my cheat days look like, why I take them. And, I would encourage you that if right now you don't regularly take a day off from your plan, consider it. Again, you have to decide for yourself, what your plan will be and what your rules will be. But the cheat day, I think, has been very, very important to my success and my continued success on the weight loss journey. So thank you for joining me in this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. This episode is brought to you by my latest book, Overcoming Weight Loss Obstacles: How to Keep Going When Things Get Difficult. In this book, I talk about all the hard parts of my journey. I also include all the obstacles I've faced during maintenance, which have actually proved to be some of the most daunting ones so far. This book prepares you mentally for what to do when these things happen and gives you actionable steps to take. At the end of each chapter, there's a case study of my own experience with the obstacle and what helped me move past it. It's available as an ebook or paperback on Amazon and as an audiobook, read by yours truly, on Audible. The link is in the show notes.